Apo pasara vera ndinoenda kumusha, uko kufa kunopfeka kusafa. Nichamziva mponesi apo achazouya, iye anondigashira kumusha. Nichamziva apo ndichazomira naye. Nichamziva nematadzi mumaoko ake. Ndichazofara kwazvo kuona uso wake, nekupenya kwemaziso akewo. Moyo wangu kumkudza ngerudo roremutsa, anondigadzira musha kumsoro. Nichamziva apo ndichazomira naye. Nichamziva nematadzi mumaoko ake. Ndinotondera avo vadikani vakafa, kuti nerufu tapatsana navo. Apo Jesu ouya navo tichasangana, asi ndichatanga kuona Jesu. Nichamziva apo ndichazomira naye. Nichamziva nematadzi mumaoko ake. Achanditungamira kupinda mazambara, apo tisingazowi neurombo. Ndichaimba newese rwiyo rwekufara, asi ndichatanga kuona Jesu. Nichamziva apo ndichazomira naye. Nichamziva nematadzi mumaoko ake. Nichamziva apo ndichazomira naye. Nichamziva nematadzi mumaoko ake.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Clean Food Crush Program. It's your favorite dietitian, Portia, and today we are going to be deviating a bit from the normal. I hope you guys are healthy and keeping safe wherever you are. I hope you're having a lovely week. So I know kuti majaira kuti panapa tingotaura kuti let's reduce the amount of sugar in our food, let's eat more vegetables, let's eat healthy and all that. But today we are going to be deviating a bit from the normal. Today we're going to be talking about drug abuse. So why are we talking about drug abuse today? This is because it's a problem in our communities, and not just our communities, it has become a global pandemic. Drug abuse, it could destroy a lot of families, it is destroying communities, it is destroying my relationships. You know, it is tearing down all the work that we are trying to put into making our community a better place. So, which is why I feel like it's important for us to talk about drug abuse today. It's important for us to talk about those things. So, the Destruction irikuitwa nema drugs. It's not just limited to societies and families and communities. The economy is also under attack. This is because the very same people who are supposed to be building this economy are under the influence of drugs. The church is under attack. This is because the very same people who are supposed to be the church of tomorrow are under the influence of drugs. The health system is in chaos. My budgets of public health, they are blowing over the roof. We have an escalation in infectious diseases. There is a rise in crime rates, violence. So basically there is a lot of chaos and havoc that is being created by these drugs. A lot of problems are emanating from this drug abuse issue, which is why it's important for us to find ways to counter it and mitigate it before it puts all the efforts that we're putting into making this world a better place before they go to waste. So now, of course, we have these large-scale impacts of drug abuse on the economy, on the globe, But today, in particular, I want to look at the impacts on the drug abuser's body. I want to look at the impacts on the user's body. Some drugs, how are they affecting them, the physiology that they are undergoing, changes that they are being subjected to, and the influence of these drugs. We want to look at them, and we want to look at some of the ways that we can use to mitigate the impacts of these drugs. So the drug ranetsa muma streets medu rukunyanya kurira sterek is crystal meth. Crystal meth, others call it dombo, others call it guka, motoriro. It goes by a lot of street names. Do drug reduranyanya kunetsa, and drug iri ranetsa to the extent that we're having a lot of drug awareness campaigns, my t-shirts akanzi stop drug abuse, vanskwane kuprinta. They're even making songs for the drug kuti vedwe, let's stop drug abuse, to emphasize. So we cannot emphasize enough on the importance of stopping drug abuse. So now we want to look at how this drug is directly affecting the body. So we have what we call our central nervous system. This is the system that controls most of the activity in our body. And the functional unit of the central nervous system are the nerve cells. So my nerve cells are responsible for transmitting my electrical impulses to basically the brain and the muscle, which is directly responsible for sensory and motor. And those control our movement, our thought, our perception, our memory, and those facilitate even my processes like breathing, digestion, my sleep patterns. Those are things that are controlled by our central nervous system, my nerves. So my electrical impulses, when they are being generated, they need a regulatory system, which are my inhibitory neurons. And so those inhibitory neurons, they are no make sure kuti the generation of impulses is regulated, so there is no continuous firing of electrical impulses, because this continuous firing of my electrical impulses ndoinozoita kuti tiite ma alterations in all the other processes and ataura vana thought, perception, learning, memory, breathing, digestion, sleep, all those other processes, they are disturbed. So my inhibitory neurons, they are important for regulating my electrical impulses that are generated. So what my drugs do is that they suppress these inhibitory neurons. When the inhibitory neurons are suppressed, it means kuti there is no regulation in our generation of electrical impulses. That is how we have my abnormalities that we notice in people who are using drugs. So some of the neurotransmitters anoshandiswa in our central nervous system are hormones, the likes of dopamine, endorphins, serotonin. The list is endless, but for the sake of this presentation, I want us to focus on specifically dopamine and serotonin. So these are hormones that are responsible for regulating a lot of body functions. For example, my mood swings, my emotional responses, our breathing, homeostasis, temperature, my vascular activities, digestion, metabolism. A lot of things are controlled by these hormones, dopamine and serotonin. So what some of our drugs do is that they mimic those hormones. And we have dopamine, and then we have this other thing that looks like dopamine. So when the receptors in our nerve cells are now generating my electrical impulses, they also recognize these bioactive compounds in my drugs that are mimicking the dopamine. So we have these bioactive components that have a functional compound that is similar to dopamine. So these are going to be recognized by my receptors in your nervous system. So when we have a lot of this dopamine and dopamine-like substance, which is basically almost working the same thing, then we also have our inhibitory neurons suppressed. It means we are going to have a lot of electrical impulses that are going to be generated at the same time. So this is now a body nervous systems asina control on the neural activity. There is just firing of electrical impulses. There is no control whatsoever. So it means we are going to have an alteration in our perception. As we had mentioned before, these inhibitory neurons are supposed to control my perceptions, edu, thought, learning process, etc. So when we have this dopamine in overdose, then we're going to have a lot of electrical impulses that are generated. So we have an alteration in our perception, in our mood swing. Those create this euphoric feeling that we have, this lack of control in emotional responses, this hallucinatory effect. So a hallucinatory effect emanator from this overdose in dopamine drugs. So which is why people tend to get addicted. Once you do it once, you do it twice, you continue having the edge of wanting to have that euphoric feeling again. So that is where we have our addictions emanating from. So as I have mentioned earlier, dopamine, it controls a lot of processes in our bodies. Saka ndopanos where problem yema drug abusers epapo. Kuti dopamine does not just control your emotional responses, it does not just control your mood. It controls a lot of processes in your body. That includes your breathing, your digestive system, your temperature, your metabolism, a lot of things. So those bring about all these other undesired characteristics in drug abusers. For example, aggressive behavior, impulsiveness, lack of poor judgment, and also no appetite. It's because dopamine does not just control one function in the body, it controls a lot of function. So when it is in exaggerated amounts, then it means kuti all the other processes are going to be affected. Dopamine munhu anenge achitonhorwa kuri kupisa, munhu haana appetite, chero mukabika 7 colors haadyi, haana appetite. Munhu ane they experience for the ladies, they start to experience abnormalities in their menstrual cycle. But it's because dopamine is also controlling all these other activities in your body. So other than giving you that euphoric effect that you desire, it is also going to give you all these undesired characteristics. So we should keep in mind, Kuti, it's not just one function that is altered. The whole body, the whole system is under attack kana tichishandisa drugs. So besides my behavioral changes that we might notice, there are other long-lasting impacts that the use of drugs has on the body. And first and foremost, we've got our kidney. So first and foremost, we've got our kidneys. And due to the use of drugs, we can experience my electrolyte imbalances in the body. So my electrolyte imbalances they have a negative impact on the kidney. They damage my kidney cells. And also my alkaloids, and when you come my drugs, they directly damage my kidney cells. So when some drugs for a very long time, they are at the risk of developing kidney disease. They are also at a greater risk of developing my kidney stones. We also have damage on the liver. So these bioactive compounds are non drugs. They destroy the cell membrane yema cells in liver. Now the liver, being a detoxifying organ, it's supposed to regenerate itself. It's supposed to regrow my new cells. But imagine when the cells are dying and there is no growth of new cells, then it means we are at a risky liver malfunction. So you can either develop my liver scarring, which can in turn lead to liver cirrhosis, and you can also develop liver cancer. So the overuse of drugs is strongly discouraged. So these substances that are found in drugs, they also irritate the lining of your lungs. So you can see when prolonged use of my drugs, they can develop conditions like asthma or bronchitis. And also my lung cells, they are also destroyed, which means kuti munhu anenge ari prone to conditions like pneumonia, chronic obstruction pulmonary disease, all those diseases affect the respiratory system. Vanhu vanoshandisa madrugs, they are more prone to them. That is why we see my drug users vachiita problems in breathing. They experience a lot of wheezing. They cannot breathe normally like normal people. It's because their respiratory system is under attack. Not only does it affect your respiratory system, your reproductive system is also under attack. For the ladies, you can experience ovarian damage from the use of drugs, which means that my ovaries they can no longer function well, so you're at a high risk of infertility. Your uterus is also damaged. You experience uterine damage, endometriosis. You can develop fibroids. Your menstrual cycle is also under attack, so you can experience abnormalities, amenorrhea. All these are conditions that can possibly emanate from the prolonged use of drugs. And then for varume, drugs, they can cause testicular damage. So if your testicles are damaged, then you can experience things like low sperm count, poor quality of sperms. So basically you can become infertile. So the use of drugs is strongly discouraged. Now, the list of my organs that can be damaged by my drugs is endless. I just mentioned a few, but my drugs, they have a lot of impacts on our body. So it is important for us to find other ways to mitigate, the use of drugs or other things that we can substitute for instead of taking drugs. Because basically the end goal of taking drugs is to elevate your dopamine and your serotonin. But we end up having all these adverse chronic illnesses that were unintended. So basically the whole body system will be under attack. So what we need to do is to find other ways of raising this serotonin and dopamine without using drugs. So the question, are there other ways that we can use to raise my hormonal levels without using drugs? The first one is good diet. I can never emphasize enough the importance of a good and healthy diet. Eating your fruits and vegetables, high fiber, reducing the amount of sugar, fat, and salt in your food is of utmost importance. And also eating my high quality fruit. Most of our food these days is processed and it has no biological value in our bodies, no nutritional value whatsoever. So it is important when we are making my food choices, let us opt for foods that are more in nutritional value, and this way we can naturally boost my hormones like dopamine and serotonin. Secondly, we can try exercise. Now, exercise has been proven countless times to elevate these hormones. Another way that we can naturally boost our dopamine and serotonin levels is kuchitsvaga activities that we enjoy doing. It's important that you find something that you're passionate about, something that you do effortlessly, that you enjoy. These activities, another way we can naturally boost our dopamine and our serotonin levels is to identify my activities that we enjoy doing, things that we're passionate about doing. Because when you do something that you're passionate about, you increase these feel-good hormones, which is our end goal. The end goal is to increase your dopamine and your serotonin. And so we can try to incorporate these activities, identify them. It could be music, it could be art, it could be sports, whatever it is that you feel like you enjoy doing. Invest most of your time in doing that. That way you're naturally boosting my dopamine levels, so we do not have to go to my drugs. We do not have to find my other alternatives that are harmful to our body to give us that feel good hormone. And we should also normalize getting enough sleep. It is important for us to get enough sleep, because when we sleep, we're giving our body the chance to recuperate, the chance to regenerate these hormones. So if you're always on your phone 24/7 and you do not give your brain the chance to rest and refurbish, then it means you're always going to be on the low for these hormones, substitutions. So it's important for us to get enough sleep. Also, we should limit our screen time. It's important that we limit our screen time, because ukachayirwa na 2 a.m. uchiri pa WhatsApp, uchiri pa Facebook, where do you think your body will find the time to regenerate these hormones? So we need to give our bodies enough rest. We need to give our bodies enough sleep. And also, it's important once in a while you detach from the digital world and you just get into the natural world, into nature, because nature has its own way of providing my healing processes. So it's important that once in a while unomboitawo slip into this natural world where there is no television, where there is nothing digital. It's just you and nature, just you connecting to nature. Trust me, you will find that relaxing and healing, and it is a way of just taking away all this depression, all this stress. Substitute with my drugs. Now, I don't know who is perpetuating this notion yakuti counseling is for white people, counseling does not work for black people, because that is very wrong. Counseling and therapy can also work for us. So why don't you try, instead of turning to drugs, why don't we try doing my therapy sessions, professional therapy sessions, professional counseling sessions. You go there and sit, and you let the professional do her work and see, Kuti, is it not going to work for us? Because some of the things that we actually think are bothering us, it's a matter of perception, and we need someone who can professionally help us to process our emotions well, to manage some of these emotional turmoils that cheetah face. So I advise Kuti, instead of turning to drugs, why don't we try my professional counseling sessions? And for the icing on the cake, have you ever tried prayer? Like, have you ever tried prayer? Because one thing that we should understand is that the devil is on a warpath. And some of these problems that we are facing, they are not physical, they are spiritual. Even the Bible says it, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities. So if you're in a war gun and you're using a knife, then you're definitely going to lose that battle. So we need prayer. We need to ask the Lord utibetsere kuti tikunde some of these problems, because on our own we cannot do it. The issue of drug and substance abuse is one of the ways that the devil is trying to use to destroy the youth. Saka isus, let us try prayer. Like, just try prayer. So now, if we're going to look at mitigating drug abuse, we need to understand kuti mitigating drug abuse is not just holding my drug awareness campaign, nekuprinta ma-t-shirts akanzi stop drug abuse, nemazi big banners atinenge takaita, nemacha and songs. No. We have a bigger part to play in mitigating drug abuse. So problem yatinoita is kufunga kuti drug abuse is the problem. Drug abuse is not the problem. Drug abuse is a solution. It's a wrong solution, yes, but it's a solution. So what is the real problem? The problem is unemployment. The problem is family trauma. The problem is mental health issues. The problem is childhood traumas that people do not talk about. So if we're going to look at mitigating drug abuse, let us start at the root cause. What is causing drug abuse? What is causing people to turn to drug? The problem is real life issues that people are facing that they do not talk about, that they do not know how to handle. That is the real problem. So if we're going to mitigate drug abuse, then we need to start addressing those problems. Number one, let's start with addressing unemployment. Instead of matching NEMA t-shirts and whatnot, how about we hold my youth empowerment seminars, empowering my youth to be financially independent, empowering them to be better people in the community. So a good example is the Glen City Primaries Camp Retreat that was hosted by Easter. These are programs that are equipping my youth with skills and knowledge that they can use to make themselves better people in the community, be financially independent. So these are more of my drug abuse mitigation plan actions that we need. Plan actions that are addressing the problem at the root cause. And instead of holding my board meeting, let's hold my board meetings to discuss how can we empower our youth? How can we make life easier for my youth? How can we address my problems that my youth are facing? And number two, let's also address these mental health issues. People are going through a lot. There's a lot of depression that is on the rampant. There's a lot of anxiety, a lot of emotions that are out of control, that are spiraling out of control. So we need to raise awareness in mental health issues. So if you think drug abuse is your only problem, wait until you see the rate of mass suicide going up. That is when we are going to acknowledge the fact that we need to raise mental health awareness. Let us encourage people to learn to process their emotions and thoughts, and let us help our youth with knowledge on how to handle these real life issues that they are facing, this is one way that we are mitigating drug abuse. Ngatite free counseling session for vana vedu. Let's give them a free safe space that they can talk about my issues are kuvanetsa. Let's address my childhood traumas, things that people went through in their childhood that they have never talked about but are affecting my behaviors. Let us address those issues. That is how we are going to address drug abuse at its root cause. And most of all, more than teaching our children to pray, let us also pray for our children. Let us also normalize hosting my all-night prayers because we are fighting a battle that we cannot win on our own. We need the Holy Spirit to empower us. We need the Holy Spirit to fight for us. So more than just teaching our children to pray, let us also pray for our children. And let us not look at drug abuse with a one-sided lens. Let us address drug abuse with an holistic approach. This is the only way that we can fight drug abuse. So we need to know Kuti, this drug abuse, it's not a one-man job. It's a battle that we have to fight as a community, that we have to fight as a church, and above all, that we have to fight as a united front. So until we internalize this, all our efforts are going to go to waste. So let us normalize fighting this with a holistic approach. And I hope you enjoyed the rest of your week. This is your favorite dietitian signing out.
Mutsa wenyu